Welcome to an audiobook entitled Parish Management and Operations, The Buck Stops Here, narrated by Catholic author Michael Brinda. We hope you enjoy the segment and find it useful in your ministerial work.
Chapter 58. So what is outside-the-box thinking in our communications context? For starters, it means, don't look at me, don't look for me to tell you the answer when I'm looking for you to tell me the answer. Translation: the first box you must learn to think outside of is the one labeled with your name on it, because you don't have all the answers, and neither did I. But God made sure that for every problem, somebody does have the answer. There is a key for every circumstantial block and lock. Our job is to find it. But you must be willing to try, to experiment with what others are not. As such, what if you posted a street sign that directed people to your website to increase website traffic? And what if upon visiting the website, just one person of his or own free will, just one, completed an online form providing social media contact information and requested more information on some topic? Let's answer those questions with this question. What is the relationship of all your PMO communications efforts in this regard and the potential benefits to the soul of this one person? Infinite, incalculable, beyond words. A quote from Albert Einstein: "A person who never made a mistake never tried anything new." End quote. You must be willing to try what others are not if what has been done to date is not delivering you superior results. Remember, our performance measurement yardstick is not to look at where we are in relation to where we are now. Nobody cares where you are now. Our performance yardstick must always be to look at where we are in relation to where we should be. If you are not where you should be, and you are probably not, you still have work to do. Doing things the way you have always done so in PMO will not get you to where you should be, or you would have already been there by now. The church and the parish has lost people over time, one person at a time, and the parish will help return people to Christ in the same manner, over time, one soul at a time. And so we return to the art of PMO communications, and specifically how you as a PMO administrator develop, how you establish traction, how you become trusted as a reliable source of information with both current and lapsed parishioners. As mentioned, capturing the information in points 1, 2, and 3 above from active parishioners is relatively easy and quick. Just ask them. But the superior PMO administrator should not be satisfied with only picking the low-hanging fruit. What about those souls who have left the parish, left the church? Do we give up on communicating with them? Is that what Jesus taught? No. In PMO, we just have to think in terms of how we creatively demonstrate and communicate, be kind, be patient, show love, to people who are no longer looking at or listening to us, or perhaps even mock and insult us. The only thing that works in this regard is to try everything you can imagine in PMO communications that is legal, ethical, and moral. If at this point you are realizing the potential impact of superior PMO should deliver so much more to current and lapsed parishioners than ensuring the roof doesn't leak or events are properly scheduled and the potluck dinner is covered, that is the intention. For far too long, PMO has been misunderstood, viewed as a purely administrative function, a bureaucratic backwater that has nothing to contribute to the spiritual development of parishioners. This notion is not only false, it is detrimental to our mission of saving souls. Therefore, how is PMO perceived in your parish? Indeed, in each parish, in each diocese? As a sleepy backwater of mundane administrative tasks? Has the PMO duties and responsibilities paradigm shifted where you are? Is the role of PMO correctly perceived as far more than stereotypical parish office work? The fact is, PMO is the authorized, centralized, org chart-based responsible hub for your speed of light digital Aeropolis communication initiatives and campaigns directed towards current and lapsed parishioners. Oh, so that means it is in the realm of PMO where creative and coordinating responsibility is placed for communications and so much more? That is correct. Good to know that communications is not the vaporous, euphemistic, and kumbaya sing-along everybody's job, but that actual responsibility for producing good fruit results commensurate with the size of our geography, and not the Dr. Feelgood, look how far we've come and where we used to be attitude, is in fact grounded in personnel on the PMO org chart. Leaning on the printed parish bulletin, occasional website visits to check the mass times and the like as a primary means of PMO communications today is totally absurd. Fundamentally, realize that if somebody is willingly and voluntarily subscribed to follow the maximum character limit of inane Twitter utterance by insert your celebrity of choice here, and I use the term celebrity loosely, that same person could and certainly should receive a tweet from your parish on a topic of this person's choice that will lead him or her closer to Christ and perhaps out of mortal sin. However, if establishing such communications does not originate by, from, and through creative outside-the-box outreach thinking of PMO personnel, please, you tell me where such vital communications will originate to help the apathetic parishioner, a soul exponentially more in touch with the latest celebrity gossip than the gospel message of Jesus Christ. You tell me how we will reach them. And remember this clearly. It does not matter what topic a person starts to engage us with. Any topic or concern that brings a person in contact with the church is a good thing. Certainly, we will look at every parishioner contact that spontaneously comes our way, or we generate through proactive PMO communications, as being under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. And where this contact leads is between God and each soul. But our duty in PMO is to serve the parishioner, current or lapsed, it makes no difference. We are in the service business. God is in the results business. For example, active or lapsed parishioner topics of website or social media channel outreach might be abortion, annulments, bereavement, Bible study, books and book reviews, carpooling, crisis of all sorts, children, parish events, divorce, employment, family, fellowship, financial planning, grieving, internships, pending legislation, marriage, ministry topics, music, natural family planning, prayer, RCIA, retreats, sacraments, spiritual direction, youth, volunteering. If you review the above list and immediately jump to, but many or all of these items are mentioned in the parish bulletin or website, go back and re-listen to the above comments on the parameters explaining how people prefer to communicate today. We live in a digital world. My grandma reads the bulletin, maybe, if she can find her glasses. Furthermore, I can't read the bulletin if I don't have the bulletin to read. Lastly, even if I have a bulletin, I'm not interested in scanning it for that one possible helpful nugget of information that I might find useful. Why? Because I am already mentally conditioned by how social media fundamentally works to expect a filtered and customized level of service from my digital communication sources of information. How so? Number one, the sender must know what I want to know. Information I desire will automatically come to me. I will not go to the information. This is just how I prefer communications to work in my world today. And if you don't want to conform to my communications preferences, fine. But you will remain shut out of my world. I really don't care. And, number two, whatever information does come to me, I know in advance I elected to receive it and I will have some level of interest in it, or at least I did at one time. Therefore, number three, if the time between my need for information and receiving the information is measured in days, much less a comically mislabeled weekly parish bulletin, this is most assuredly not the speed of delivery I have grown accustomed to in my personal digital world, and I will in all likelihood learn to ignore your PMO-supplied so-called communications as a viable, much less useful, source of information and guidance in my life. Everybody in PMO needs to be on board with this execution reality. The communication speed limit today is 186,000 miles per second. That's right, 186,000 miles per second. This point brings us back to a previous lesson on execution. If you can't, don't, or won't execute according to the needs of the receiver, you are wasting your time creating a parish strategic plan. What is the point of having communication tools and channels that move messages at the speed of light if you don't take advantage of that fact? After much work and trial and error efforts, someone informed you that they might be interested in something you offer at the speed of light, but you are going to get back to them at the speed of whenever you get around to it? Whenever someone in PMO feels like it? Or the speed of the weekly printed bulletin? Whenever someone has the time? Don't bother seeking the return of this community of apathetic, lapsed parishioners and Catholics if this is how you intend to slow play your PMO so-called communications. You are wasting everyone's time, including your own. Furthermore, as you listen to the above list of communication topics, do not think too narrowly in terms of serving any listed topic. For example, the topic of marriage does not simply infer contact the parish office at least 6 months in advance before your wedding date. PMO can go far beyond announcing prerequisite scheduling procedures and actually provide links to articles, podcasts, solidly Catholic websites, etc., on all things related to marriage. The reason this does not happen has nothing to do with a lack of useful information on Catholic marriage and everything to do with a broken PMO culture that dumbs down the role of PMO to simply being the purveyor of marriage date scheduling rules. Says who? Imagine the impact of receiving an article on some aspect of marriage you indicated of interest to you from your church. You didn't have to go on an Easter egg hunt searching the internet for an authentically Catholic doctrine. Magisterially correct article, as if you even know at this point in your faith walk what constitutes authentically Catholic doctrine, magisterially correct article, will find you. This proactive communications in your parish did find the information for you. It did the information search for you, and it sent the information you needed directly to you. This proactive approach to engaging communications is the fruit of the new digital evangelization, and it must be articulated within your written strategic plan or it will not happen. You either get on board and become part of the speed of light digital content communications multi-platform solution, or continue the outdated ways of the past in PMO and remain part of the problem. It's your call, but the digital communications train left the station long ago, and PMO most everywhere was not a passenger on that train yet. If at this point you are thinking communications is not your job in PMO, you might as well stop listening here because you have failed to grasp that content is delivered be a specific thinking that animates this paramount, fundamental, and foundational principle. We meet people where they are, not where we wish them to be. If we have to face a mountain of rejection just to hold one person's hand and spoon-feed them information others might find or have found for themselves, who cares? That is your job in PMO. We spoon-feed via robust PMO communications effort. It is an intransigent stubbornness and fidelity to historically broken and uber-passive PMO communications methods. Methods that, if they ever worked in a superior manner, certainly do not work that way today. That contributes to the hemorrhaging of parishioners to the secular world, and our failure to return lost souls to the pathway that leads them back to Christ. Whether the outreach topic is administrative, apologetics, catechesis, or any other form of religious conversation, it all starts with personal contact, and personal contact starts with communications, and communication starts with doing the spade work of discovering personal contact information. You will not find a romanticized version of the truth here concerning typically ineffective potluck dinner, festival planning, free donuts and coffee in the parish hall after Mass, PMO communications messaging content, and transmission efforts so common to date. Ultimately, it is the difference between limply reporting the attrition of souls from the church that we are already all too familiar with. Gee, isn't it a shame Johnny no longer goes to church? Insert sigh here. But what can we do? Or doing whatever is called for in PMO communications to help stop it. Can you handle a heavy dose of rejection and failure to find an occasional victory over the enemy? Can you, will you, climb and conquer Mount Rejection? If so, take the initiative and follow the communication advisements provided here, or create your own methods. The answer is out there if you seek it. Create your own scarecrow story. Has anybody climbed this communications mountain before us? Yes. For example, an old woman by the name of Mother Angelica. Type her name into Google. Read her story. And then ask yourself why her communication story can't be your communication story on a local parish level. If not you, then who? If not now, when? Next strategy, 1.4. Define new and enhanced existing mechanisms that enable parishioners to provide input to parish leadership and receive meaningful and timely feedback regarding parish policies, programs, and directions. In Scripture, we find an example of Paul providing rather direct feedback to Peter in Galatians chapter 2. And when Cephas came to Antioch, I opposed him to his face because he was clearly wrong. For until some people came from James, he used to eat with the Gentiles. But when they came, he began to draw back and separated himself, because he was afraid of the circumcised. And the rest of the Jews also acted hypocritically along with him, with the result that even Barnabas was carried away by their hypocrisy. But when I saw that they were not on the right road in line with the truth of the gospel, I said to Cephas in front of all, if you, though a Jew, are living like a Gentile and not like a Jew, how can you compel the Gentiles to live like Jews? Also a quote from Edwin Land. The essential part of creativity is not being afraid to fail. Now, the art and science. In regard to the context of communications, you cannot define new and existing mechanisms without also embracing the science of soliciting and capturing specific feedback from your current and former parishioners. You need more feedback about what is working, what is broken, and what is somewhere in between broken and working. And you need this feedback in as fine a granularity as possible. Of course, as the PMO administrator, you have an idea of what is broken and working, etc. There are plenty of visual signs and indicators. There are also plenty of generic articles written on why people are leaving the church, etc. And of course, PMO personnel working with you have some valuable feedback as well. But is that all there is to the science of communications? Just ask a few folks for their input? No. You must solicit and collect feedback from everyone you can, but especially those who have quit on their faith in God. No matter the topic of discussion, your most valuable input does not come from repeat customers who are clearly drinking your brand of Kool-Aid. For such folks who fit this profile are already satisfied. Just keep doing what you are doing to serve them. What you really want to know is why former faithful voted with their feet, left the church, and did not return. Of course you should capture feedback from active parishioners. This requires the use of a feedback mechanism, a survey tool. Many are available for download on the internet. Simply edit the survey points to fit your specific needs. However, to capture the feedback you need, you must reach out to everyone registered in the parish, including those who quit. It is in reaching those who quit that we accept our duty to do more than just serve the easy-to-reach, low-hanging fruit. In other words, your typically dwindling base of active parishioners. But how to do this? How do we reach those who have quit? How do we find them? Here is your list of superior ideas for reaching those who have quit on their faith in their church, to solicit their feedback.
We hope you enjoyed the program and will join us back for another show on WCAT Radio. This is Sebastian Mahfood. Good day.